Hello world. The biggest holiday in Japan is New Year's Day, or Oshogatsu. But it's really a winter holiday season that starts as Christmas is ending. And let's talk a bit about Christmas in Japan. It's a commercial holiday versus a religious one. There are some Christians in Japan, but it's perhaps 8% or 2% of the population. So Christmas was never a national holiday, and in fact, it's usually the last day of school for kids. Japanese do celebrate Christmas in certain ways. While homes don't generally decorate with Christmas lights, you will see winter illuminations in several neighborhoods around Tokyo. They're very pretty and romantic. Yes, Christmas, a time of romance. If you're dating, Christmas Eve is a day of romantic love, kind of similar to Valentine's Day in the West.
まあ昔だからホテルね取って高輪プリンスホテルに泊まったこともあるな。うん。でレストランも予約してでプレゼントも買ってで夜景の見える遊歩道を歩きましてで夜はまあお決まりのコースを行って。
それ長すぎるのかな。こう王道だよね。全部入ってるよね。夜景とホテルと。
Everyone thinks that Japanese eat KFC for Christmas. Well, it actually is the most popular food associated with Christmas, and many convenience and grocery stores will sell fried chicken for this special day. I personally prefer the tradition of Christmas cakes, which are typically strawberry shortcakes. My Japanese family tends to order some chicken, sushi, maybe some pizza, and Christmas cake for dessert. I've recently taken to roasting a whole chicken in our microwave convection oven.
メリクリあなたからメリークリスマス私からメリークリスマスサンタクロース is coming to town.
December 25th is also the deadline for mailing out New Year's cards, which are called Nengajo. My father-in-law wrote about 50 this year, but in the past, my wife remembers him writing 200 or more. You send Nengajo to family and friends, but also coworkers, customers, teachers, and neighbors. So lots of cards. You can buy postage-paid cards at many places, but you can also print your own custom ones at home.
ってやると、本当100枚ぐらいになると、朝からやって夕方近くまで返して、まあ宛名はプリンターだけど、でも手書きのコメントがないとやっぱ年賀状って味気ないから、本当にもう1日かけて年賀状を作ってやっと出せたっていう。
だから苦痛だよね。
もうそうね。今はもう送られてきて来た人にしか返さない。そうすると多分毎年どんどん減っていくから今減らしてる最中。
Every year, an incredible amount of tickets will be purchased for the year-end jumbo lottery, which is the biggest lottery of the year. You might be curious as to the big line, especially since they're on sale for a whole month. The Nishi-Ginza Chance Center is known for having many past winners who purchased their tickets there, so many superstitious gamblers line up. This is despite the fact that no matter where you buy, you technically have an equal chance of winning. A Bonenkai is a drinking party that's thrown to forget the hardships of the year. It's kind of similar to an office holiday party in Canada, but there are a few differences. The parties are usually held at a restaurant or izakaya, but if a company is trying to save on costs, they may be held at the office. The party is for staff only, no significant others are invited. There are no secret Santas or gifts to worry about. However, attending employees will usually pitch in for the costs of the party, although sometimes the company will pay. And at Life Where I'm From, I decided that we'd be such a company. So to tick off two things from my bucket list at once, I had our first bonenkai on a yakata bune, a kind of party boat that I've never sailed on before. It was only my sister-in-law, Ako, and I, but it was fun cruising through the waterways of Tokyo at night. Bonenkai is not only for companies though. Groups of people will often throw them, whether it's a bunch of friends or a sports club. 汚い。
こうやって取ります。恥ずかしい。恥ずかしい。本当は
すごく汚い。
1ヶ月ぐらいに1回取り外すといいんですけど、 サボりました。
Another thing to take care of before the year is over is the big clean of the year. I'll let our resident Shinto expert, Chato-san, explain.
Osoji is the custom of cleaning the entire house very thoroughly at the end of the old year in preparation for the new year. Now, in Shinto, from the very earliest days, there was a custom of performing a great purification ceremony at the end of the year called Oharai, and that probably has a connection to this custom because physical cleanliness is an important part of Shinto purification.
今日は年に一度の大掃除です。大掃除はだいたい家族揃ってみんなでやることが多いです。普段できないような換気扇の中とか電気の傘とかあと窓拭きなどをします。簡単。
While Japanese homes don't usually have Christmas decorations, they tend to have okazari, which are decorations they place outside the house during New Year's. Karamatsu began as a pine tree decoration to mark a house and make it easy for Toshigami to find. Toshigami is one of many Shinto kami. Kami often get translated as God, but it's closer to a deity. So Toshigami is the deity of the year, and Karamatsu will allow you to welcome him in so he can bestow good fortune upon you. A fancier Karamatsu will look like this, with bamboo, pine boughs, and perhaps plum blossoms, while a simpler one might only be a single pine bough. Shimenawa are also popular and are used to ward off evil spirits. On the first 3 days of the new year, people aren't supposed to work, so meals are prepared in advance. The original reason was that you're inviting kami into your home, and if you're loudly working, they can't relax. Another reason not to work was that if you start off the year busy and working, you'll spend the rest of the year busy and working. So on top of not cooking, you're not supposed to do household chores like laundry and cleaning. And also, don't use knives because it'll cut your luck. Basically, at the start of the year, don't do anything. Practically speaking, even if people are mostly not cooking once the new year hits, they are assembling dishes and washing them afterwards, so it's not exactly a time of complete rest. And all the preparation for relaxing on the first 3 days, in fact, takes a lot of work beforehand. Since most shops are closed over the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, it's really busy at the supermarket. And because meal prep can take a long time, it can start as early as the 29th. Osechi ryori, traditional Japanese New Year's food, is served as the first meal on New Year's Day and is considered the most important meal of the year. Every dish has a specific meaning, and there are lucky and unlucky numbers and colors.
4っていう数字がちょっとダメだね。もう一個。
So it can get complicated arranging everything. That's on top of the fact that many of the younger generations, and by younger, I'll include my sister-in-law Ako, who's in her 40s, have never prepared it in their lives. Also, different regions of Japan will have their own versions, and there are now Western or non-Japanese versions of osechi, so I don't think you could say that there's a single way to do it. There are a lot of dishes and traditions, so that's why Ako is using articles on the internet to help arrange the osechi boxes.
やったことないからちょっとどうしよう。おせちはさ、いつもお母さんが詰めてたし、注文したりしてたから自分であんまり詰めたことなかったんだよね。これがさ、基本にされても困っちゃうんだよな。でさ、おせちがさビデオに出ちゃうから間違った詰め方をしちゃいけないと思ってネットで調べてやってたんだよ。赤白赤白。でもおせちだけじゃなくて本当に年末年始ってやることがたくさんあるじゃん。絶対に守らなきゃダメとかやらないとダメっていうわけじゃないけど、なんかやらないと罰が当たるような気がするんだよね。でお母さんたちが昔からやってるからやらないとダメみたいのはあるよね。でもさ、そういう日本の行事も子供たちに受け継いでいかないといけないんだよね。なんかやらなきゃいけない行事がいっぱいない？日本の正月って。
今言ったことほとんど私やったことないからお母さんとさやってないからさやったことないんだけど。
私が全部作ったみたくなってるけど違うからね。お母さんが作ったからね。
Preparation for osechi ryori continue into o-misoka, which is the name given for New Year's Eve. And after all the prep is done, the desire to make something for the final meal of the year must be quite low. Perhaps that's why it's traditionally a simple dish called toshikoshi soba. The kanji means year-crossing soba. Soba noodles are thin and long, so there's a saying, Hosoku Nagaku Ikiru, which literally means thin and long life. A long life translates well, but what's a thin life? The best I can come up with is that it's a peaceful, uneventful, and healthy life. Or in other words, the opposite of having a short, extravagant life. Despite what I just explained, some people like to eat a bit more than soba for their final meal of the year.
バチが当たるよみたいに言われるからバチが当たる気がして年越しそば食べないと別に本気でバチが当たるって信じて強制的にみたいな感じじゃないけどなんかそうさせる手が勝手に嫌いだけどなんか食べなきゃみたいな。
レコードしてなかった
あ、監督。
首だ。
美味しい。良いお年を。Something that's usually playing in the background is the NHK TV program Kohaku Utagasen. It literally means red and white song battle. Women represent the red team, while men represent the white team, and the audience votes for their favorite performances. If you're wondering about the red and white colors, there's a lot of usage of them in Japanese life. In Japanese, aka is red, and akachan is a baby, so red represents birth. White is death, so red and white represents life. You'll see the colors at graduation and entrance ceremonies, on sports days, on ribbons for gifts, and with osechi ryori.
じゃあワイドにするからみんなの動きを撮るよちょっと誰かもうちょっとあっち行ってこう顔も向こう向いてこれもうちょっと
Even the music competition, Kohaku Utagasen, stops broadcasting at 11:45 p.m. to hear the bell ringing. Joya no Kane means New Year's bell, and you'll hear bells ringing at temples around the nation. The bell is rung 107 times on New Year's Eve, and once more when the new year arrives for a total of 108 times. In Buddhism, 108 is the number of worldly desires, so the ringing of the bell will cleanse you of them and let you start fresh in the new year. At many temples, regular people are allowed to ring the bell, but make sure to show up early, as there are limited spots. Unlike New Year's in Canada, Omisoka is more similar to Christmas Eve, where it's more of a quiet evening with the family than a party night out with friends, although young adults do tend to hang with their friends at some point.
Happy New Year! ハッピーに今年もよろしくお願いします。
Smartphones will start buzzing with message alerts, with people wishing a Happy New Year. At this temple, you can see there's an incredible throng of people, but they're not lining up to ring the bell. Rather, they're in line for hatsumode.
Hatsumode is the first visit of the year to a Shinto jinja or Buddhist temple. People typically pray for a good year, draw a fortune to see what it will be like, and make an offering to receive an omamori amulet. This doesn't change whether you go to a jinja or a temple. Records of Hatsumode go back about 800 years. These days, about 80% of Japanese people do it. The custom is to do it sometime in the first 3 days of the new year, although one response to the pandemic has been to ask people to spread it out a bit. In the past few decades, it has become common for people to line up at a jinja or temple before midnight so that they can do hatsumode as early as possible in the new year. This is quite a new custom that has only really become common and widespread within living memory.
It's interesting to see the difference at this Buddhist temple I was filming at versus the Shinto shrine that Chato-san was at.
Hatsuhinoです。ちょっと私寝起きだからやだよ。
全然見えない。Every year, my sister-in-law's in-laws awake early in the morning to catch the first sunrise, which is called Hatsuhinode. In 2022, this was at 6:50 a.m.
ちょっと触っちゃった。動いちゃってた。大丈夫かな。
It wasn't okay. The time lapse was ruined. But it does let us talk more about Hatsu, as in firsts. That was Hatsumisu, first mistake of the year.
元旦から初何々とかよく言ってたじゃん。初握りっぺとかさ、初おこりとかさ。
お母さんが言ってるだけでね、全部に初つけてこそって言ってくるの私に。
お母さんはよくやってるよね。
全部に初
トイレとか。
初トイレとか。
The very first dish you'll eat is likely to be ozoni, which is mochi in a soup. Unlike the rest of osechi ryori, it's acceptable to cook this simple dish using the stove.
みんなが食べる前に仏壇にもお雑煮をお供えします。
Osechi ryori is served in special boxes called jubako that look a lot like bento boxes. Each dish has a special meaning, which is too much to get into, but suffice it to say that after eating them, you'll have a long, joyous, prosperous year full of good health and fortune.
グレッグの分は？
グレッグも飲むでしょ。
はい、おめでとうございます。
おめでとうございます。
今年もよろしく。
Perhaps it's a bit like medicine, because I think it's rare to find Japanese who in fact enjoy all of the dishes. My wife personally dislikes tazukuri, which are dried sardines cooked in soy sauce. I'm not a fan of datemaki, which is tamagoyaki mixed with fish paste or mashed shrimp. I love tamagoyaki, but just not with the mushed up seafood mixed in. An easy dish that is usually cooked at home is nimono, which is a mix of vegetables simmered in soy sauce and sake. Nowadays, it'd be very rare to see anyone home cook all of the dishes. Even home cooking half of the dishes would be something. Many items can be store-bought, and as it happens, you can even buy the whole set of osechi ryori from stores. I can understand why mothers don't like cooking it, and it is mostly mothers that are doing this. Because what joy is there in spending 1, 2, or 3 days preparing dishes that most won't like?
ゆうこちゃん。はい、お年玉おめでとう。はい、おめでとう。おめでとう。
During the morning gathering with family is when kids will get their New Year's money, otoshidama. Traditionally, Christmas presents are not a thing, although in recent times, some families give them out. Instead, the big prize are the envelopes that are handed out by parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. The amount of money given depends on the family and age of kid, but it generally starts at a single 1,000 yen bill for the youngest and can go up to 10,000 yen or more for the oldest.
3人もいたらね、もらう方が多くなっちゃうから、子供がいない人をあげる一方だからさ。
いや、そのお年玉の調整も難しいよね。
談合だ。何年まではいくらとか。
毎年親戚からお年玉をもらい、そのお金で何を買おうかと欲しいものリストとにらめっこをしながら計算するのが楽しみでした。しかしながら貯金しておくから という母親の言葉を信じ、ほぼ全額渡していたので、自分の買いたかったものは一つぐらい買えただけでした。
Once Osechi Yori is done, it's mostly a quiet day. Most people don't do hatsumode at night, so there will be long lineups at the local shrine or temple to get that first visit in. But there are people who are hard at work, like the mail carriers that are furiously gearing up for the biggest delivery day of the year. What's special about Nengajo, the New Year's cards, is that they're all held for delivery until Gantan, which is what New Year's Day is called. When my wife was little, she would eagerly await the sound of the motorbike and the mailbox flap. It would always come by lunch.
友人から来る年賀状は元気だからくれるから嬉しい。
And upon receipt, it's time to do a bit of work, as you write back to all the people that gave you a card, but you didn't send one to. If you receive a card after the first, it's either because the sender didn't get it to the post office on time, but also perhaps because the sender wasn't going to write to you, but they got your card and was obligated to give you one back.
10万1万5千円当たってるよ私。今までのね人生でね。
New Year's Day is also when the draw for the year-end jumbo lottery occurs. So my mother-in-law was excitedly checking all her numbers.
はい、下4はすぐ当たっちゃうの。はい、これ300円。これ300円誰でも当たるの。あずれ。3000当たったよ。これ間違ったらさっきだ。ラッキーラッキーラッキー。
でもこれは3000円。
3000だから元取ったってだけ。
Another first, which generally happens on the second day of the year, is kakizome, which is the first calligraphy of the year. Teachers will often assign kids to do kakizome over Oshogatsu. And the kids will know how, since all kids learn shodo, calligraphy, in elementary school. If you watch TV, you'll often see school kids participating in large kakizome events.
いつもめんどくさいなって思って冬休みの宿題だけど大変なのだから学校で書く分には授業だからいいんだけど家で書くと床汚れるから新聞引いたりとか筆洗わなきゃいけないとかすごい服汚れたくないから服も汚したくないしみたいなそう結構そういうの気使ってたタイプだからめっちゃめんどくさいなと思ったし。
For those who didn't visit a shrine or temple in the first day or two, it's a lot less busy. This is a calmer time to do hatsumode. It's also a good time to re-up on your lucky amulets and talismans. This is Daruma. You draw one eye on him at the beginning of the year, and if something good happens during the year, you can fill out the other eye. There are also ofura and omamori. They are pieces of paper that are said to be imbued with the power of kami or Buddhist figures. After you've bought your new amulets and talismans, it's time to turn in your previous years. Temples and shrines will have collection areas. They will hold a burning ceremony called otakiage, which will return the sacred bodies of the kami and Buddha figures that were inside. While I tried to be as comprehensive as possible, covering all the events around the biggest holiday season in Japan, Oshogatsu, I'm sure there are events or items I didn't cover, and maybe different regions around Japan don't do it like I showed, or I got some things wrong. But I hope it gives you a bit of insight into what goes on.
ケンタッキーはでもクリスマスに自分では買ったことないよね。でも人ん家に行ったらパーティーバーレルがそうお呼ばれして行った先のお家にパーティーバーレルがあってなんかちょっと何これと
違う私ね相づち打ちたいんだけどこれ音声を編集したいからごめん黙ってるからさちょっと一回喋ってからうんって言うね。
Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace. What's New Year's like where you're from?